Welcome to the Wellness as a Way of Life podcast, your one-stop, all-encompassing source of wellness, knowledge, wisdom, inspiration, and motivation. Here we teach you why not all wellness trends are for you, how to figure out which ones are, how to best adapt them for your personal wellness toolbox, and how ultimately to integrate your wellness practices so fully that they become to feel like brushing your teeth. A foundational part of who you are and not a check mark on your to-do list. This week on the podcast, I'm so excited. My good friend Heather Lowe is back. She is the founder of Ditched the Drink, a wellness company dedicated to helping professionals move away from alcohol and towards their highest selves. Heather is a certified professional life and recovery coach, certified addiction awareness facilitator, and the director of marketing consumer products for the International Center of Addiction, Recovery, and Education. Their acronym is ICARE. She is passionate about coaching, connecting people with alcohol-free resources, and creating a positive, sober community. I recently joined her online community called Insider. You can do so as well. Link will be in the show notes. Heather shares the bright side of sobriety as an influencer in the social media sober space at Ditch the Drink. So excited to share this conversation with you. Hopefully it might inspire you to look at the holidays a little bit differently this year. Let's get into it. Welcome, Heather. I'm so excited to have you again. You're one of my favorite podcast guests, and this is a juicy topic we're going to dive into today. So welcome, and how are you? Give us a little update.
Hi, so good to be here. Thank you for having me, Megan. I'm good. Everything is good. I just hosted 15 people for Thanksgiving, and I had 6 days of company. So coming off of that and heading into the next holiday season, of course, there's so much to do. It's a really busy time. It's also, for some people, a really exhausting time with parties and overindulgence and so many things. People slide out of the routines and things like that. But it could also be a runway to the new year and how you want to set the stage for health and wellness or whatever your goals are. So I'm good.
Yeah, 10 days of company. Well, I'm jealous, and that celebration sounds lovely. 15 people you hosted? That's
yeah. 2 days of like one day there was 15 and one day there was 13. So it was big. It was my dream come true. I always say, like, come to my Thanksgiving table. You know, if anyone doesn't have a place to go, or we combined a lot of families and friends, it was kind of an open door. I loved my house being full of people and lots of food, and we had people age 6 to 77 here, so multi-generations, and it was really sweet, and it was exhausting, and it was resentful, and it was wonderful, and it was horrible. You know, it was all the things. It was beautiful chaos, meticulously organized, and pure madness, and a lot of memories were made. I just understand the impermanence of things. You know, like, will we all be in this room together again next year? I don't know. So I tried to treasure it, but also moving through the many complex layers of emotions that the holidays can bring up, that families can bring up, that celebrations can bring up, and the whole thing.
Yes. So let's dive in there a little bit deeper, because I know for me, for a long time, the holidays, I grew up in a household where celebrating includes alcohol and a lot of specific food and stuff. But I will speak personally for myself. I was always kind of excited for this time of year, in part because it kind of just fed into my love of drinking. And it became, everything you just said that was so lovely and challenging about having a house full of people. I love that you picked out, the being present and the intentionality of it and the memories and all of those things. I think, at least for me, were really hindered when I was drinking. Mm-hmm. So this will be the 6th holiday that I'm sober, and it just does. It's a non-issue, and I love that I have all this energy I didn't have before. to focus on different parts of the holidays, and particularly as a mom, and really just having the energy to show up consistently, because this is, let's just face it, an exhausting season. I personally am, like a introverted extrovert. So I too will have a house full. I'm very excited. I have all the expats in the area come to my house on the 25th of December. Because here in Mexico, the bigger celebration is traditionally the 24th. And I love to have this like open house and people come all day long. And I love it, but I also find it a little bit taxing, like I couldn't do that every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd love for you to talk about how, what's changed for you in celebrating these big holidays, these family gatherings, and how you look at them differently now that you're sober. And are you the only one that's sober in this group of people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, such great insight. Yeah, so let's talk about first, before I quit drinking, what it looked like. So I was born and raised in Wisconsin. My parents met in a beer tent. I met my husband in a bar. It's a huge, huge drinking culture. I knew nothing different. Alcohol was part of not just every celebration, but everything, every day, and continues to be in a lot of ways, I think. So it was definitely part of my celebrating and visiting and festivities and parties and gatherings. Alcohol was always included, and I always loved it. And I'm going to say that in quotes because I thought I loved it. I thought I loved it at first sip because it seemed to turn down the insecurities in my brain. Maybe it made it easier. When I started drinking and then going to parties in high school, it made it easier to have this liquid courage, to walk into maybe an upperclassman party where I wasn't exactly invited, but sneaking myself in there anyways. It made it easier to talk to boys. It made it easier. I thought I was an extroverted person. I thought I was a party girl. So I'm kind of a class clown, kind of a loudmouth, but it was like, I could take the energy off everybody else and put it on myself, which felt comfortable for me. It felt like I'd rather take care of everybody else by putting the focus on me. And so it seemed like alcohol had these magical qualities. It made me funny. It made me outgoing. It made me popular. It made me friendly, all these things. What it was really doing was like turning off my inner voice. I was just pouring alcohol on my inner voice that said, maybe I don't feel safe here. Maybe I'm not sure if I belong. Maybe these aren't the right people. So instead of going with that thread, it was like, just pour alcohol on it and smile and act like you're having the time of your life. And if you're not, maybe drink more alcohol and then you'll have more fun. Alcohol was almost required in some situations. And I didn't have any positive role models for not drinking. I didn't know anybody that didn't drink. The very few people that did were like their hand was slapped because they were bad drinkers. So now they had to sit in the corner and be sad and not join in on festivities. Mm-hmm. So that was how alcohol was for me growing up. And that's what I knew. So I went through the holidays exhausted because like you said, like we're adding a really big to-do list on our already big to-do list, especially as a mom. And I wanted to create the magical moments. And who of us didn't put the kids to bed and then drink our wine while we wrapped gifts and drink our wine while we, stayed up late to put those toys together so it could look like magic the next morning. I was absolutely pushing myself to my edge and burning out. And I thought alcohol was the glue keeping it all together, giving me the energy to do these things, giving me something to look forward to, giving me a little me time amidst all my responsibilities and things like that. But it wasn't that. When I did ditch the drink, I saw that alcohol at first sip maybe gave me a feeling of euphoria or excitement, but toward the end, it was also just stopping the withdrawal from the night before, right? And even though I was a very gray area, high functioning drinker, if you're drinking daily, you're having withdrawal symptoms daily, even as a very moderate drinker. It can take 10 days for alcohol to leave your system. So if you're having a couple drinks a day, you're just always, your body is always craving that drink. and it's
And
messing
at
with
a bare
your,
minimum, it's like
yeah,
deeply impacting your sleep.
right, right. And so, and also it's changing your brain chemistry. So
Hmm.
you're not creating your own feel good chemicals because you're artificially stimulating that with alcohol. So it takes some time away from alcohol to do that. And if you're consistently drinking daily or a couple times a week, your brain isn't making its own feel goods. So it feels like alcohol is giving you that artificial uptick, which of course we're all interested in feeling good, right? So we think alcohol is the solution for that. So I was going through the holidays drinking extra because I was nervous. I mean, who is not nervous to be around family or friends? Or for me, a perfectionist and a people pleaser. I felt the energies of everybody else. I wanted to keep everybody happy. I wanted everyone to think very highly of me. I was worried about what people thought about me. I had my own insecurities, like I said. So I just kept drinking. I drank through it. And I would wake up completely exhausted and just do it all over again. Drag my family to the parties, one foot in front of the other like a robot doing what needs to be done. Bring the dish to pass, bring the thank you card, get the, wrapping or whatever needed to be done. And then I ended the season completely exhausted, probably like a lot of people do, maybe considering a dry January to try to heal from all the damage that they did during the holiday season with the overindulgence, with prioritizing drinking instead of maybe some other habits like taking a walk or journaling and tuning in or doing your meditation or staying with a healthy diet, eating foods that make you feel good. So, but again, I was giving alcohol the credit for giving me energy or helping me get through or giving me a good time. When the truth is, I wasn't looking at the whole picture of like, I'm waking up with shame. I'm embarrassed. What did I say last night? I'm not making memories because the end of the night is a little bit foggy, to be honest. I don't really recall the end of that conversation or going to bed or did the kids just fall asleep on the couch, right? I wasn't fully present for any of those things.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupt here. I can totally relate to that, A, and everything you just said. And B, so you just went through this whole process. I loved how you kind of teased out, all the things that I think most women are feeling when they're going to receive, either guests they don't know very well or family they have complicated relationships with or the in-laws or, like whoever it is. Or it's just coordinating, like getting a 3-course dinner out all at the right time and like all the things. So what do you do now? You kind of just dropped a few ideas, but in those moments, when all those people are in your house and traditionally you would have, calmed the nervousness or the discomfort or the drama. Ironically, we comfort drama with alcohol, honestly. Kind of topical. Inevitably it'll escalate, right? But what are you doing in those moments now when you're hosting these things that, obviously I'm going to pull that quote that I thought that you thought alcohol was the glue holding everything together. Cause I think that's like it's powerful. And I think it's a really common way of framing it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's your glue now?
So it is like, I would describe it like this. And I actually just felt that way over Thanksgiving. It feels like you're playing a game of whack-a-mole while doing the most complicated math equation in your head, right? Like I'm trying to figure out timing for what needs to go in the oven at what temperature for how long and all the different dishes. Meanwhile, everyone in my house is like, Mom, Heather, Mom, right? Like, we need more toilet paper. Can I borrow a sweater? Come help me with my makeup. Somebody's at the door. Oh, you got a package. Where's the breadcrumbs? Like, you're like, yeah. So it's, it can be a high stress time. But even in advance, what I did differently, like this year, let's say, and it's a continual process. It's a continual learning. And it's a continual relationship that I'm journeying with myself. Ditching the drink was just the start of this. It was just clearing the way for me to start to listen to myself and hear myself. And you know what? I have some thoughts that are unpleasant. I have very unpleasant thoughts, even about people that I love and adore, right? So I had this internal conflict, this internal grouchiness. Like I just had a thought about something that I didn't really like. And I used to pour alcohol on that thought. I used to tell myself, you're wrong. Don't think that. Don't feel that way. Don't be mad. Don't be resentful. Don't think that way. Pour alcohol on it. Just ignore it. Pour alcohol on it. And now I'm like, it's okay that I had that thought. Again, I said impermanence, like that thought will pass. I don't have to believe every thought I think. And it's okay if I think that way. Maybe that's the way I feel right now, and that's okay. I let myself be myself. This isn't something I did as a drinker. As a drinker, I wore this mask of alcohol to be who I thought I was supposed to be, or to be what I thought other people needed to be. Now it starts with the relationship with me, and it starts in the shower by myself, right? Or on my morning walk with setting an intention, like you said. How am I going to let myself be today? And it's stressful enough when I'm with the whack-a-mole math equation game and all the energies and all the people. I'm not going to make it even harder by berating myself for whatever I think and feel. So it's really changing the voice in my head to a voice of compassion. And I think that's everything. Maybe I have reason to be upset. Maybe there's a resentment that I need to address today. Or maybe it's a fleeting thought and things change. Either way, I give myself space to be.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love everything you're saying. So, can you share with us maybe anything that you've done in terms of boundaries? It doesn't need to be, we don't need to say with the same situation of the complicated dinner, but over the holidays, lots of parties. Are there things that you do to sort of preempt, not feeling sad that there's nothing fun to drink at the party, or like little things that you do to make sure that you enjoy your time, whether that's, being preemptive or whether that's, stating something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess there's expectations and priorities, and boundaries as well. But for instance, even with my family here, I said, I'm going to this hot yoga class this one night. And then I use the sauna, the steam room. I have this whole circuit. And even though they were here, I said, I'm going to be taking a couple hours this evening and going to do this because I knew it's what I needed to ground myself and to set the stage for a really nice visit. So they are welcome to do their own thing. So when I give myself freedom, it gives them freedom, right? Like they can come and go as they please. I don't have these rigid, hard, perfect expectations for them like I used to. I let them do what they want, be how they want. I'm responsible of taking care of myself, and that's it. So I think that's huge. Instead of thinking you're the micromanager or the codependent for everybody else, right? Honestly, taking care of yourself. And when you take care of yourself, it gives others permission to take care of themselves too. So I did prioritize this alone time and this spiritual practice for me, and this moving my body. That was important. So that sets the stage and puts me in the right mind frame. Also, I don't do what I don't want to do. I don't think like, oh, you should really sit with your mother-in-law or whatever. If I don't feel like I want that energy, then I don't put myself in situations I don't want to be in. And I don't have to drink alcohol to tolerate it. I just simply don't do that. If there's a party that wouldn't be fun for me without alcohol, and then I don't have to go. Right. I was just talking to a client about that this morning, and she's like, oh my God, we pay so much money for someone to tell us we have permission to like take ownership of our own life. Right. So I don't have to go. If you have a partner, there's things you can do, like I'm going to leave early, or I'm going to leave at this time. We could drive separate if you want to do something different, but you're allowed to take care of yourself through the holidays, through the parties. Just because it's always been one way doesn't mean you can't look at it with a new lens and try it for another. So there's no reason to suffer through. There's no reason to do anything that feels like that sucks. You don't want to do that. You don't have to do that. Find a way to make it work. And I love to bring alternative drinks. I love to be part of a party and celebration. And I still love to have a drink. So I sort of keep the ritual. I've just changed what's in my glass. And I always say animals and children are your safe places. So if you're having a hard time connecting, or you're feeling out of place, or you're awkward, I think the animals and the children in a gathering are always the safest places to go to.
That's so sweet and true. Okay. So I love that you're giving us so many different ways of framing, essentially juggling self-care over, these apply throughout the year, but it's even more like everybody's to-do lists are more. There's all this added shoulds of events that we're supposed to go to. Do you have any tips in a professional setting where maybe it's more of an obligation, or there's, other reasons besides like, I don't want to go, that are filtering into your decision on whether you're going to show up? And does one need to feel obligated to stay a certain amount of time? I would argue no.
Yeah. So again, workplaces and holidays, I think we don't know what to do. There's a lot of corporate gifting that involves alcohol. We assume everybody would want a bottle of wine. That's not the case. A third of the population doesn't drink. So you're leaving a lot of people out. And 70% of people that have like substance use disorders are working full or part-time. So there's a lot of people that would not benefit from that gift. So I think we need to rethink how we're gifting. And then again, for workplace parties, there's often open bar. We know the danger stories, right? The person that said too much or drank too much and did something embarrassing or risky or dangerous or any of those things. So we have this idea in the workplace that alcohol connects people, that alcohol is a great way to celebrate, and that it's an activity that everybody can join in on. But all of those things are false. Truly. When you start drinking, you're turning off the part of your brain, your decision-making, your judgment, your intuition. So you're not really able to connect with other people. You start to get in your own head. So you're really disconnecting from others and being in your own head, how alcohol just affects your brain. It's taking you away from reality and what's really happening there. So it's not a connector. Like I said, a third of the population doesn't drink. So it does become a diversity and inclusion issue if that's the only activity. And
they don't drink for lots of reasons, right? Like it's not
any reason. Yeah, there's a million reasons. Some people are in recovery, but for some people it's their religion or health, or it could be a certain stage of motherhood, or maybe certain medication that they're on, or just a lifestyle choice, or it's cultural taboo. There's a lot of reasons why people don't drink. So just to assume that everybody is leaves a lot of people out. And it's also been proven that people do feel pressure to drink at work parties and drink more than they would if they were on their own. So if you're going to offer alcohol, that's fine. You could do a drink ticket system where everyone could have a drink or two, instead of an open bar, limit it, because the reality is the effects of alcohol, it personally affects you. It affects your health. It affects all 7 systems of your body in a very negative way. And again, this is even for moderate or less drinkers. It's not just heavy drinkers. So if it doesn't make you feel good, you're not your best. You're not going to have the best time because you physically don't feel good. I've already mentioned some things that it does to your mental health, but it actually adds fuel to anxiety. Like you said, how funny that we're going to solve holiday drama with alcohol, because it actually adds fuel to your anxiety, and it's a stimulant and a depressant. So it brings you up and then it brings you down. So it increases depression and anxiety. And like I said, then it takes away from your own natural feel-good chemicals to make that in your brain. So you're not feeling good physically. You're not feeling good mentally. Spiritually, like I said, it's fogging up your intuition, your judgment, your decision-making. You're not able to stay clear or present or even acknowledge miracles and awareness that might be happening all around you. You don't have the eyes to see it once you've poured alcohol on it. So if you're not feeling your best, it's just like a personal outcome. And then, of course, there might be the guilt and shame from if you said something you didn't mean, you lost a little inhibition, you embarrassed yourself, maybe you drove home. That's a dangerous choice, right? There's all those things, negative consequences. But then in the workplace, alcohol increases absenteeism, sexual harassment, accidents. So there's all these workplace negative effects too. So we're using alcohol to bond and celebrate, but what the facts of what alcohol does is actually increases a lot of liability and takes away from the bottom line, which is probably the last thing that you want at the end of the year and during the holidays. So I think it's just taking a realistic look at alcohol and at how it's affecting you personally, or how it's affecting your family, or how it's affecting your organization, and putting those things together. So the surprise is when you're alcohol free, you're having the best time of your life because you physically feel good. Your happiness chemicals have kicked in. You're present and available. You're acting in alignment with your values. You can get up and dance, right? Like because you're in alignment with yourself. You're not going to feel shame later or embarrassed because you know you're acting with your whole heart and your whole self. So you can have a better time. You have more energy. I often sometimes I stay out later, sometimes I go to bed early, but when I'm having a good time, I have all the energy in the world to keep going, right? And so you can have a lot of fun when you're alcohol free. And that really has been the biggest surprise to me on my sober journey.
I'm over here nodding. I realize we're recording. It's all mostly audio, but yes, I feel exactly the same way. I love that you really honed in on how it affects your intuition, your innate sense of joy, your capabilities of creating your own happy chemicals. And I think for me, it's just allowed me, of course, it's somewhat coincided with having children, but all these things that are, just the small things about this time of year that are so beautiful and help us connect, the memories that, I thought were silly as an adult to enjoy, that maybe not less important, but, that I'd graduated from that stage of this part of the year. And I'm just enjoying it so much more. Little things like, Christmas music, or the tradition of making your own wreath, baking cookies with the kids. Like there's just so many things that I'm so grateful that I'm fully present for. And everything that you just said about, how much better you can show up more consistently, and just enjoy yourself in a way that you're kind of kidding yourself that you were before, or at least that was my experience.
Definitely. I love that you've mentioned that. And as children, we didn't need alcohol for the excitement of, let's say, Christmas, if that's something you celebrate. Like the anticipation of Santa coming was enough. Eating cookies and drinking cocoa was enough excitement. You wouldn't add alcohol to that for more, right? The alcohol would take away. And you can see that if you think about a 7-year-old child, how that would take away and be sad. It's the same for an adult. And you're missing the simple joys, like you said, when you're dumbing yourself down and numbing yourself out. You might be numbing the pain a little bit, but you're also numbing the joy. And to be alive is to experience the whole spectrum of emotion and feeling. So really, you don't want to numb any of it.
I just got goosebumps. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. And the children don't need it, and neither do you. So it is fun to have it. When you ditch the drink, you do feel childlike joy. Not immediately. It's hard at first. It was for me, right? There was a lot of.
It does take time to get to this point, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, you hear that song and it just makes you happy, right? You see those lights on that house and it brings you bliss, pure joy that you weren't having as a drinker when you were kind of fogged out, either prioritizing getting your drink on, feeling your buzz, or recovering from it the next day. You weren't able to show up with your whole self.
Yes. So tell us what's going on for you at Ditch the Drink these days.
Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. So I'm thinking about extra holiday support. So I started an insider membership community. I have a mobile app where you can connect 24/7. It's off social media. And then it actually started last July, and I started with 2 group calls a month. But it has grown so much that for the month of December, there's 2 or 3 calls a week. So there's in the middle of the day or in the evening. There's even one Friday night now. So that's really, really awesome to have watched that grow and to see connection between people, because community is important. And if you are ditching the drink, you need other people that get it. It is hard to do on your own. And it's wonderful to have a group of people that you can get resources and support and cheerleading and accountability and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited about my growing insider membership. The other thing is I launched a new program called Launch Your Coaching Practice. So I've been recruiting and mentoring coaches to do the coach certification that I've done, which is through the International Association of Professional Recovery Coaches. So many people do that, and they graduate from that program. They're certified through the ICF. They're ready to coach, but they're like, now what? Like, I know how to coach, but where do I get clients? What do I do? How do I start this? Right. So it's been by demand of the students that I've started a course that says, this is how you do it. Here's how you start a business. Here's how you do your package and pricing. Here's the mindset to have. Here's social media, what that would look like, and how to build an audience, and how to attract people to you, and how to figure out what it is that you're actually offering. And so that just started, and I have my first graduates of that. And so, and this is really beautiful, full circle for me, because some of my clients have now become coaches. And so some of those people are now doing some group coaching within my program. So it's just like, I've got people that need coaches, and I've got people that have become coaches, and I'm able to put it all together and help people on all sides. And it's been just a beautiful full circle moment for me that I've been doing this long enough that my clients have become coaches.
Yeah, beautiful. We have very similar ecosystems now that I'm hearing all this. I love it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to joining your community. What's it called again?
The Insiders. Yeah, Ditch the Drink Insiders.
The Insiders. All right. Yeah, so we'll share all of that in the show notes. Any final thoughts on navigating joy?
Yeah, stay with yourself, everybody. Stay with yourself this holiday season, and let yourself be how you are, and prioritize your own self-care, and perhaps a grounding technique each morning, something that can be stable, that says, I'm going to stick with myself today. I might have uncomfortable feelings, but I'm also going to look for the joy, and I don't need alcohol to numb out from it. And for me, and I think most of my clients, alcohol was just another form of self-abandonment. So let yourself be who you are. And I think that is the path to the fullest joy that you could possibly have in this life.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you
for being here again. So appreciate you. Thanks again for listening. If you haven't already, I highly recommend that you listen to the episode I did with Professor Barbara Sanroman. She and I are embarking on a new adventure, everything leadership, self-leadership, and wellness. We are calling it Elevate and Lead. It is an 8-month, 8-session program, a strategic leadership development program for women to optimize their capacity, a comprehensive approach to elevating executive leadership in corporate spaces. Training and retaining high-quality female talent is paramount to the future success of any company. The impact is much greater than diversity and inclusion alone. The cost of high turnover of skilled women is an investment in not only time, momentum, strategy, expertise, and potential. We are doing this through 8 micro-learning experiences to help corporate women feel embodied and sustainable in their leadership capacity. I will suggest that you check out the website to get a breakdown of the 8 sessions if this is resonating, and we highly recommend that you skip the trial and error and embrace a transformative program that compresses time, accelerates growth, and ensures the rise of a new era of leadership. Hey there, one last thing I wanted to share with you. If you're enjoying this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you could rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. It really does help us grow the show, and this being so important to me to get this message out to more women to help them optimize their wellness and ultimately their lives. This is my mission, and I would greatly appreciate it if you could support the podcast by rating and reviewing. Thanks in advance. Have a good one.